What is up, Big 12 Nation? Here we are. Thank you so much for joining us today on the one, the only, the biggest 12. I, of course, am your host, as always, Clint Foster. Thank you so much for tuning into the Biggest 12 show. And make sure that you're subscribed to us. We've got a great show for you today. It's just one of many more amazing shows. We've been a part of the Biggest 12 family. You already know how we roll, right? We have exciting guests in here. We talk about exciting things. The Big 12. We hate on Oklahoma and Texas. It's all in the family, okay? It's good stuff around here. As I said, I'm Clint Foster, your host. Please do follow me on Twitter at Clint_Foster55. Also, follow my YouTube channel if you're not already at Clint Foster Comedy. It's very TCU heavy at this time of the year, but going to be working in more and more other conference stuff as we get in off season. And hey, it's basketball season already now, so crazy things are happening. The unstoppable march of time. As I said, you are watching the Biggest 12. Please subscribe to us at Big 12 DOCFB. Hit that bell, hit that like button. That's how you're going to know every single Tuesday. Make sure that you don't miss the show at 6 p.m. Central Time every single time. Got a really great show for you today. But first, I do want to give a shout out to kind of an on and off sponsor, but really just more of a friend of mine, Fans Vintage Gear. All right, good friend of mine, Lindsay Dixon, runs this company. She finds absolutely unreal vintage finds, mostly TCU stuff, but also a lot of Texas Rangers mixed in there, Dallas Cowboys, and other Grail finds if she can. I wanted to show y'all, especially for the Frog fans and my audience, the latest shirt that she gave me. Look at this majestic piece of shirtwear. Now, this is something that she actually designed herself using a logo from a Bluebonnet Bowl shirt from 1984. And would you look at this mean piss lizard right here with his boxing gloves on, says Smash Mouth TCU football. Hey, this is just a sampling of the type of stuff that you'll find. So check them out on Instagram. Go to their website, Fans Vintage Gear. If you're a TCU fan especially, you will not be disappointed with what you find. I wear a lot of vintage Grail finds on my channel that I found from her. For example, you might have seen this this flying T hat, all kinds of stuff like that. So time to get this show started. Y'all know I've got an insanely special guest on here today. He needs absolutely no introduction. I'm talking about the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year in 2014, a Big 12 champion and Peach Bowl champion, a man who was fourth place in the Heisman voting, should have been way higher if you ask me. Also a man who threw for over 10,000 yards in his TCU career, ran for another 2,000 yards, and a total of 130 touchdowns. He's also a very dear college. He's the one, he's the only, Trevone Boykin. Trey, thank you so much for joining us here on the show tonight. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Enjoying life, baby. I'm enjoying life.
Good. Well, so, a lot of folks, we have folks of all stripes who watch the Biggest 12. We've not just TCU fans, West Virginia fans, Oklahoma State fans, Kansas State fans. So a lot of folks probably haven't heard from you since you were playing in Seattle.
Right.
Give folks a little idea of what you've been up to.
I got some stuff up my sleeve right now, man. But I'm mentoring kids. I'm giving back to the community. I'm working on things to try to get back on the field. But the main thing for me is about how I can tell my story and continue to give back. Continue to use TCU as a platform, continue to be an light to people. I have a great supporting cast around me, a great group of people around me. So this year I'm really trying to get on with the USFL, XFL to continue to just showcase my talent in any way that I possibly can. And with that, being able to be on Fox this year, it just gives me a better platform in the offseason to be able to mentor more kids and reach out to more kids on top of that. So that's kind of where I am right now.
Hey, man, it worked for Kevontae Turpin, right?
Hey, man, Turk, that's my dude, man. I talked to Turk. Even having somebody like him coming back and speaking to the kids or talking to the kids, it don't matter really at the end of the day. It's all about what we can do to help the next generation be better.
Yeah, now we don't need to get into this too much, but I know obviously you made some mistakes in your life. I mean, shoot, we all have. Just most of us just not with the microscope of like the whole national media watching us. I mean, talk a little bit just about the way that you have grown and how you've rebounded from your mistakes.
Man, a lot of stuff just comes with time, man. A lot of stuff just comes with age, maturity, and being able to accept your flaws and being able to accept the things that you've done wrong. And I can tell you like this, bro, ain't nobody been hard on my situation or my life than me, because at the end of the day, like, I'm the one going through it. I took the hits, I ran the gases, I was the one whose name was this and this and that. So at the end of the day, people may be sad or people may be hurt, but trust me, ain't nobody more hurt than me. But the bounce back and the redemption is what I am doing now. I'm being able to tell my story, being able to still walk around TCU campus and being able to still see faces that still continue to show love and be around. So that's the redemption story for me, being able to give back and let people know that there is light at the end of the tunnel no matter what.
Hey, that's truth there. And this is a guy, hey, for everybody watching, I've always been in this dude's corner. I go way back with this guy.
Yeah, go way
I'm
back.
talking about, so when I was an equipment manager with TCU football, I was
Did I give y'all a hard time?
right?
Did I give y'all a hard time?
No. But what I was going to say is the week before your first start against Iowa State, that you were practicing with the running backs on Thursday. The week before that first start at quarterback. And it was like, okay, Trey, we need to throw you in. And you didn't skip a beat, man.
I ain't going to get too much into detail on kind of how that happened, because like I said, like, I would love, like, I'm going to start getting my podcast and stuff going. I'll be able to go in depth with those stories and those details and stuff like that. But just to give a quick overview, yeah, man, it just literally happened overnight. Thursday, I was practicing at running back, and Friday morning, I think that they told me I was going to be starting on Saturday. So it was literally less than 24 hours to prepare.
Yeah, hey, but you rose to the challenge. Okay,
yeah,
now
for sure.
Some frogs that, I hate to be hateful, but are not rising to the challenge right now. Far cry from 2022, a far cry from your glory days in 14,
Right.
15. Man, what is going on with the frogs this year? I mean, because I ran into you at the Colorado game, at the Nichols game, and things have just spiraled out of control.
Yeah, see, I went to I can say this. First of all, we're not the same team that we was last year. So, I mean, a lot of those ranks, a lot of those predictions, a lot of those expectations were from that team last year. And with them not being there, it's just a new group of guys. And the difference between a program like TCU and a program like Georgia, who we played in the national championship last year, is they're going to have guys ready to compete for a national championship every year. And not saying that TCU doesn't, but we're kind of built up program to where it may take those guys 2 or 3 years to become molded and gel together as a collective family, a collective group, in order for those guys to be good. So by the time they're juniors or seniors, who knows, they could be back competing for a national championship again.
That's true. I mean, and that's true. TCU is very a developmental program. A lot of Big 12 programs are developmental programs. Yeah. Everything happens in cycles. What, though, from your vantage point as a former player, obviously not a former player for Sonny Dykes, but a former TCU player, what do you think have been the biggest issues that the Frogs have been needing to overcome this year?
I don't know. I would say we need to me is the recruiting process, right? For me, I just don't see those dogs on the field like I'm used to seeing with TCU guys. It's just not like coming to play with a chip on your shoulder, coming to have something to prove every time you step out there, because you are what they call a little school. So you got to be able to erase that out their head and be able to play. And we're not going to be able to get those big games, being able to get that push into like the playoffs if we're not generating enough. And that's kind of what it is. But the recruiting process to me is just, we don't really have any dogs on the field. I mean, I can tell you I heard from a D-line coach. The D-line coach told me, he was a coach at TCU, that he's not recruiting no players that are not on financial aid. And that has nothing to do with people who come from wealthy families. It's just the fact that this kid may know that, like, look, he either going home or he going to the NFL, and there's no plan B for him. The only plan B is to make plan A happen. And if he can't do that, he got to go back home. And a lot of these kids that go to TCU, they got fallback plans. And so TCU, the football may or may not be their first love. And for me, it was like that's what it was for me and a lot of the guys that I played with as well. So maybe it's just a recruiting. These guys are getting paid now, so they're making a lot of money in college that they may not necessarily even be a professional athlete. So
that's true. That's a good point. Thinking about the NIL piece and the want to, because I definitely do see a lack of physicality this year compared to last year, for sure. Yeah. And I've talked.
We lost a lot of talent, bro. We lost a lot of talent. that too. We lost a lot. We like 6 or 7, at least 11 seniors, probably like 8 NFL guys, and 4 or 5 of them are just played probably this weekend. So
yeah,
it's a new team. It's a new era, man. These guys just have to grow up, and they'll be better next year and the year after that as well.
Yeah, well, and I've heard similar things from Blaze Foltz, from Wayne Daniels, dudes we played with. That it's the dogs, right? You don't have the dogs, you don't have the physicality. And I'll tell you who we missed the most off of this team from last year is Steve Avila, who's the dude in the middle of that offensive line. Nasty, by all accounts, a great guy, but just nasty player. I mean, physical, and we're not getting that kind of push from the offensive line, and it shows.
We're not, and hopefully, it's like you said, with the portal being the way that it is, and recruiting being the way that it is, there's no way, and with Texas and Oklahoma moving out of the Big 12. I mean, I see no reason for the Big 12 championship literally every year to try to come through Fort Worth.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we got a comment from Mike Fort here that you might have made the playoffs with TCU if the Big 12 had a conference championship game in 2014.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I'm going to go to my grave saying that 2014 team was the best team in the nation that year, and I think the best team TCU has ever had. Can you speak to that, Trey? What are your thoughts on what could have been if that 2014 team was given a chance?
Man, I can't do nothing but reminisce over it. Because it's literally like for me it was bittersweet, and like I said, I try not to dive too in depth with the stories, but man, when they told us, bro, I was hurt. I was devastated. It was almost to the point to where, like, I mean, for us, we were playing for a national championship, bro, and to not get that opportunity for whatever reason was really, to us, was kind of bogus. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we flipped the switch, and when it, like, bro, we just had a point to prove, and we went out there and we proved it. But I for sure think we was the best team in college football that year, for sure.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, I think we had the best resume. I think we had the best team. That defense was active. I mean, you and J-Doc were magic. It was something else. It was something to watch. So let's keep talking about the Frogs. Let's talk a little bit about that TCU Texas Tech game, if you want to call it a game. That was on Thursday. Second time, by the way, on a Thursday that a critter gets loose on the field in Lubbock, and Tech ends up beating TCU. The other time, back when you were in school, bro. Yeah. Man, what were your takeaways from that TCU Texas Tech game?
Well, look, I only had enough blood pressure to really only watch the first half. So
you're a smart man then.
Yeah, I only had it. So, but I mean, like I said, man, like we got some dogs on our team. The ones that we do have, I know the running back, I know he tries really hard every week to continue to be great and continue. I think his last name is like Baylor or something like that.
Yeah, Monty Bailey. Yeah,
I talked to him the one time that I met him, and just it looked like he continues to push forward, continue to get better every week, and just try to bring guys up to your level and try to help them play like you, man, because you one of the ones who are consistent doing it each and every week. But my takeaways from last week, bro, is just being young, being inconsistent. I don't really know what's going on. Our offense is looking stale. Our defense is not looking physical. I don't know if they're defeated already from the season, or it's just too much on the guys. They're too young. But something has to happen. Something has to give, because right now we're not even bowl eligible, are we?
Nope, not yet. We're still 4-5.
We got UT coming into town this weekend, and one thing, and not to jump forward, but one thing I like about TCU when they do play UT, it's they always come with, like I said, that chip on their shoulder and try to have something to prove. Because if not, man, UT gonna beat them up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll get there. We'll talk about that game.
No.
But for those of you who didn't catch the TCU Texas Tech game, Tech wins 35-28. Frogs had an opportunity to tie up the game right there at the end when Josh Hoover throws his second interception of the game, one where there appeared to be total miscommunication between him and the receiver. He had very little time to throw virtually all day. That interior offensive line was getting beat up by the Frogs. Trey, as you said, the play calling was a little bit stale. I'm curious, though. I mean, obviously you're an offensive guy, but what is your take on the 3-3-5? Do you think the 3-3-5 is the solution on defense for TCU?
I do not, and because at the end of the day, you're going to be able to run the ball all day on a 3-3-5, and you can just go back to the week before when we played Kansas State, and it was just I knew when we lined up 3-3-5 that they were going to run the ball, because it's been like that since the beginning of time, even when Coach P was at TCU. So it's just like at 3-3-5, they're going to expose that every time they play, especially if you got a running team, somebody like Kansas State, or even if you got somebody who can just run the ball. Period, you're going to be able to get by the 3-3-5, and because the 3-3-5 really set up to stop the spread offense, is not set up to stop the run game. So.
Mm-hmm.
That's really my take. I definitely wouldn't be running no damn 3-3-5.
Maybe defensive coordinator Trevone Boykin maybe in the future.
I definitely wouldn't be running that. If I'm an offensive coordinator, I want you to line up in the 3-3-5.
Sure, right. Yeah, you can spread them out that way, right? And if you only got 6 in the box, I'm running the ball all day. Absolutely.
All day.
So the Frogs lose the saddle. That's the first time after 4 straight wins over Texas Tech that the Frogs lose the West Texas Championship. Dark days. Got another comment here from Joey Foster, no relation. He wants to know about the Dana Holgorsen high five, the infamous Dana Holgorsen high five in 2015 after you like juked out half of West Virginia's defense and very famously high five Dana Holgorsen on the sideline. He wants to know what was going through your mind when that happened.
Man, I couldn't even tell you. It's trying to really just. I don't want to try to give up too many stories right here, just because, like I said, I want to. But man, just to kind of take you through the play, at the end of the day, it really just kind of happened. I got respect for Dana, really on the cool. Like I like Dana as a person, as a coach. I like I don't know him personally. That was my first time ever shaking his hand, was right there. So it was kind of crazy. But the reason I did shake his hand was to tell him, like, bro, I really like you and what you got going over here. And it just kind of happened at the end of this play. And this is kind of crazy because I didn't even think the play was as crazy as it was until you go back and actually look at it. I think the high five kind of boosted the play more than really what it was. But
100%.
It was definitely crazy. But he was just right there. He happened to be standing right there, literally.
Yeah, one of those like serendipitous moments.
Like I stuck my hand out there, and it was kind of natural. He just kind of shook it, and it was just kind of went from there.
Just dabbed you up.
Just dabbed me up for real.
All right. Well, since we talked about Dana, let's talk about that Houston Baylor game last weekend. Just a struggle fest down there in Waco. Houston wins 25-24 in overtime. So those of us who picked Houston last week, dust off our shoulder. Houston victorious against Baylor. Did you catch any of that game, Trey?
No, but I don't put Baylor on my parlay, so. Baylor's never been on any one of my parlays. They ain't gonna never make one of my parlays, man. So
I don't blame you.
I'm pretty sure that I went with Houston that game because I just don't rock with Baylor. But no, I support any team in Texas, to be quite honest. But I ain't got that type of I love sports. I got people who play for different universities. I got people who I know that play for different schools in Texas. So I'll be all supportive of all the Texas schools, but. No, I didn't get a chance to catch that Baylor U of H game, but I've had some chances to catch U of H on TV and some of Baylor games, so I kind of know what they got already.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not going to lie, I didn't catch the game either. Exciting for Houston that they beat Baylor the first time since the Southwest Conference days, but here's something really interesting for you. Now that Dana's got them a little bit on an upward trajectory, There's a very real path to a bowl game for Houston this year after starting out looking like they were the worst team in the conference. Right. Everybody on the show, we were talking about, is Dana Holgorsen on the hot seat? Is he going to get fired? They've got games left over at home against Cincinnati this week. Right. We'll talk about that game. They got Oklahoma State at home, and then they go to UCF. If they win 2 of those 3 games, they're in a bowl game. Do you like their chances, Trey?
I don't see them I don't see them beating Oklahoma State. I really don't know too much about UCF. But I feel like whoever you mentioned next week, that they may have a chance. And if they can win one, then you can probably if you can win the next one, you can probably find a way to rally to win one out of the next 2. So
yeah. Hey, this show is a place of positivity, but Cincinnati is trash, respectfully.
Okay. So like I said, so they might have a chance to beat Cincinnati and then continue to try to get one of those 2 out of the last 2 games. But damn, it's crazy that college football is almost to an end. They got 3 games left.
Only 3 games left. Yeah,
Wow.
3 games for everybody. Cincinnati, by the way, last week still looking for their first conference win. They lose to UCF 28-26 at home. Rough times in Bearcat country. And UCF now, again, just like Houston, 2 wins away from bowl eligibility. They, though, have a little bit tougher road to hoe. They host Oklahoma State this week. We'll talk about that game, but I don't really feel like that's going to go UCF's way. Right. They go to Lubbock to play Texas Tech, and then, again, to Houston for the Space Bowl. But it's been a rough go for these teams' first year in the conference. And obviously, my senior year, your redshirt freshman year, I want to say, that was TCU's first year in the Big 12. What can you say about adjusting to a P5 conference when you're coming out of a Mountain Western America?
I can't really speak for everybody else, but TCU, the people who this goes back to the recruiting and the dogs that we had on our team. We wasn't recruiting Mountain West talent.
Mm-hmm.
Like TCU may have been in the Mountain West, but bro, Coach P wasn't recruiting no Mountain West talent. Like these kids could have played any. They got into the Big 12 and kind of the roller coaster ride that they may or may not have. But I can only speak for us and what I seen and what we dealt with. I know for a fact that we didn't have no Mountain West talent on our team. So when we stepped into the Big 12, we was already ready to compete, really on the cool.
Yeah, it was really just because we still made a bowl that year. I think we finished 7-5.
Yeah, we played
the Buffalo Wild injury, wild stuff.
The Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl.
Yeah, I still have the shirt.
Playing the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl.
Yeah, that was Le'Veon Bell was on that Michigan State team.
Yeah, Le'Veon.
Man, where did the time go? What the hell happened? But yeah, so yeah, we lost a nail biter to Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember the games we lost. We lost that Iowa State game that was your first playing quarterback, just because that was like an overtime crazy game.
Yeah, I had less than 24 hours to prepare for the game, and
we
still almost had a chance to win.
Yeah, overtime to Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember. Oh, we lost to Oklahoma State. That was a tough one in Stillwater. We just got outplayed that game.
It's like I don't want to get into Oklahoma State too much, but bro, it is hard to win in Stillwater. Bro.
Man, I have said that so many times till I'm blue in the face. I'm like, it's a fun place to go as a fan. As a member of a team, it is miserable.
It's
miserable. The size of those sidelines, it's awful. It's a great home field advantage, though.
Great home field advantage.
Yeah. So let's keep reviewing the games from last week. We'll go ahead and mention West Virginia. Just killing BYU, man. Those Mormons were not ready for the moonshine out there in the hills. 37-7, West Virginia wins that game. BYU sitting at 5-4. West Virginia sitting at 6-3. They're officially bowl eligible now. West Virginia has looked very good this year. Much better than I think even the most diehard West Virginia fan would have expected. Have you caught any Mountaineers games this year, Trey?
I actually caught that BYU game, and I just wanted to see how they held up against BYU because I watched us play BYU, so I was kind of doing some comparison there. But they look physical. I mean, just from watching West Virginia, bro, they look real physical on defense.
Man, they beat us up. They beat TCU up.
They beat TCU up. So it's just – I know for a fact it's just West Virginia's been like one of those teams, bro. Once again, it's hard to win up there. I know for a fact that it is hard to win up there. We had some crazy games up there. But at the end of the day, they're a great coach team, well-coached team. You really can't say too many bad things about them. They're going to come every week and try to play, bro. It's just one of the things you got to get up and be able to play West Virginia because they're not backing down for nothing. They will slip in and act a fool on you. So you better get ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll also talk about Kansas, Iowa State. Kansas winning a nail biter against Iowa State, 28-21, maintaining their ranking in the top 25. But Kansas is a really good team this year, really well-coached team. But I don't know if you saw this game, Trey. Iowa State had a touchdown that was called out of bounds at like the 30. Kid did not step out of the bounds at all.
Right.
Total screw job. Did you happen to catch that?
No, I did not.
Oh my gosh. I wish I could find a highlight and play it right now, because it's literally like they have a view from the pylon cam. He's just running straight down the sideline and they just called him out just totally arbitrarily at the 30-yard line. And that ends up being the difference in the game.
And when it comes to I'm able to speak on it because I ain't but when it comes to professional sports or collegiate sports, bro, the referees are determining the outcomes of games. And
Mm.
it's not like the beginning of the game. These are crucial plays that they either missing or calling for no reason.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like I don't necessarily know what they go through on a daily basis to be a referee. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I got respect for those guys, but man, they're determining a lot of games professionally on the collegiate level as well. So I don't know. I can't really just speak too much on it, but it's some calls that they sometimes they call it, and then there be some calls that they don't call that they need to call. So,
No, yeah. Hey, so I'm not going to put him on blast, like with him without him here to defend himself. But I have a good friend from LA who's a former NFL player from when I
right.
was living out there, and he straight up told me, he's like, "Oh, they 100% fix games. The officials fix games." He's like,
Yeah.
"If you know who to talk to."
I don't. Hey, look, I ain't gonna say they do. I ain't gonna say they don't, because I don't put nothing past nobody. But at the end of the day, like everybody on that level, I can say they're supposed to have some type of integrity about their stuff, about the game, to not be able to do those type of things. But yeah, I mean, you're gonna have your one or two people who just go against the grain. But for the most part, I don't think the games are fixed. I just don't think guys try hard until the game's on the line, and it kind of pisses me off.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. So again, Kansas in really great shape. They're sitting at 7-2, number 21 in the nation.
That's
We
crazy.
may have Kansas in the Big 12 championship. That's crazy. But Lance Leipold, that is a dang good coach. He has turned this thing around.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Kansas Jayhawks this year, Trey?
Man, I've been watching them. First of all, I like that QB, little light skinned bro with the hair. Like
Yeah.
he be doing his thing. He kind of got hair like you, but he be doing his thing, man. Like I see him out there making plays, bro. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. That's what it's about, having fun with your teammates. I watched them when they played Texas, I think the week before, and almost came away with a win too. So like each and every week, each and every year, I mean, they're moving up, and I mean, you don't want to let these guys play catch up, because once you start winning and getting some ball games, getting some wins, you start getting some recruiting classes, and everything changes for you.
Yeah, for sure. We'll keep it in the Sunflower State. Talk about the biggest choke job last week. Kansas State. Oh, my gosh. This game against Texas, right in their grasp.
Yeah.
And they find a way twice to screw it up. They lose to Texas in Austin 33-30 in overtime. Oh, my gosh. I mean, did you catch this game, Trey?
I watched a little bit of this game. I didn't watch the overtime part. Like, I thought they were going to lose, and then I ended up getting an alert to my phone that said that they won in overtime. But, I mean, Texas is just one of them places, man, that it goes back to recruiting for me with Texas as well, because they're all about notoriety, fame, and stuff like this. They don't really have a puzzle they're trying to put together as far as what guys fit where and where. We're just going to get the top athletes in the state of Texas, or the top athletes around the nation, and try to put them together with no plan. And that's kind of why you let schools like Kansas, who on paper have no chance of being on the field with the University of Texas, but the great thing about sports is you get a chance to compete every time you walk out there on the field. So they need to get it together on that end as far as recruiting. That's how I feel about UT.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of Texas fans would tell you this year they got it together. They're sitting at
They
8-1.
got it together. They're I mean, look, they're about to step into the SEC, so it's a whole nother ball game. So this right here is still this is little compared to what they're about to step into. And if they feel good about just competing in the Big 12, you're not going to have a chance in the SEC.
Yeah. Well, Kansas State snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Miss at least one, maybe two chip shot field goals, come back from 17 down, and have just one of the most bizarre attempts at a touchdown there in overtime, just going for it on fourth down. They had sent it wide open in the end zone, and just too much pressure from the interior. When I don't know why, if you're as Kansas State, why you wouldn't just run the ball. I mean, that's where your strength is.
I mean, just from watching the game, didn't look like they could run the ball.
Yeah, well, certainly not early, but I mean,
towards the end, they got it together. They got Kansas State had they got a 2 QB system, right?
Yeah, but I mean, they were really only playing one against Texas. They played both against us because it didn't matter. But I'll tell you one thing about Texas, and of course we'll talk more about Texas previewing the TCU game. They have a very good defensive and offensive line. That is the strength of this team. And that's why they're sitting at 8-1 right now, because they get insane pressure from the interior of their line, and they got a young, very solid offensive line that keeps whoever's playing quarterback clean, whether that's Quinn Ewers or Malik. Geez Louise, what's his name? Malik. Anyway, the kid named Malik Murphy.
Oh, the new guy, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we'll talk about Bedlam, because this was the fun thing that happened last week. Oklahoma State getting eternal scoreboard against Oklahoma, winning Bedlam 27-24. Oklahoma fans are going to be complaining until the end of time about a missed pass interference call there in the end zone. You love to see it, man. I love to see Oklahoma eliminated from playoff contention. What were your thoughts on Oklahoma State winning that game?
So, hold on, let me cancel this. But no, my thoughts on that game was, first of all, they're lucky, right? Because like you said, they're passing the front. That's been all over my timeline, my Twitter, just because I'm kind of in the school with the Big 12 stuff. But man, it was a battle back and forth. They're the type of games I like. I like back and forth games. I like offense. That's kind of why I don't really watch so much of the SEC games, because I'm really not a defensive person. I love to see touchdowns. Like, I want to see some people score. And so, like, that had everything I needed. The quarterback for Oklahoma, bro, he's really good. He's small, but he's really good. I like Stoops. I like Oklahoma receivers. I like Texas receivers, but sometimes they be letting me down on my parlays. So that's but now for the most part, man, like these are I mean, not Oklahoma, not Texas, but Oklahoma receiver and Oklahoma State receivers. But man, this the battle, man. I mean, they're in Oklahoma. This is for like bragging rights, at least for a year, right? So
they have no plans to continue playing. I mean, they're sour grapes, and it's like Texas and A&M were. Whenever A&M went to the SEC, they're like, no, we're never playing them again. Wow. So this may be the last Bedlam.
Oh,
the series, by the way, that's been going on since before Oklahoma was a state.
Yeah, for real. That's crazy though. That don't make any sense. That's like Texas OU will never give up their robbery, just like I don't feel like Oklahoma State and Oklahoma should.
No, I agree. That's actually the worst thing I think about college football right now is we're moving away from regionality. We're losing historic rivalries. I mean, this is the stuff that makes college football fun, right? Is like people that you work with, people you grew up with, and having bragging rights over them, you know?
Especially that Oklahoma State game. I already know.
Yeah. So Oklahoma and Oklahoma State now both sitting at 7-2. They're both in the top 25. And Oklahoma State having the most Mike Gundy season of all time, losing to Southern Alabama and now potentially playing in the Big 12 title game here in a few weeks. Like, doesn't get more Mike Gundy than that. Right. So let's talk about the week that's fixing to happen. Okay, we'll save TCU Texas for last. We'll save the best for last. But very interesting slate of games. A few trap games potentially I see on the schedule. But first, we'll talk about Kansas. Kansas is hosting Texas Tech. They are 3.5-point favorites in Lawrence.
For real?
3.5-point favorites. There it is on the screen right now. To Kansas sitting at 7-2, Tech at 4-5. I think that I am hammering Kansas in this game. I think Kansas covers that. What do you think, Trey?
I think they cover it easy on the cool. I'm definitely taking. I'll take Kansas. Is it what them -3.5?
Yeah, it's Kansas -3.5.
Yeah, I'll take Kansas -3.5 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like Kansas that's a very
solid
team.
The way they're rolling, the momentum. It's in Lawrence. I don't know if it'll be cold. Texas Tech may not come ready to play, coming off a win last week. So let's just see how it goes. But I think Kansas has a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, I don't think the magic of the possum extends beyond the borders of Lubbock. I think it. I think it's all Kansas. So that's the Jayhawks for you. Also in Kansas land, Baylor coming to play Kansas State. Now here's an interesting line for you. Kansas State is favored by 20.5 in this game against Baylor. You know, it's always hard. You always hate to bet on a three touchdown spread.
I'd take Kansas State straight up, but I wouldn't take the -20.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to bet on 3 touchdowns, but Baylor is bad. Like, they are bad.
Baylor is bad, but one thing about college football, like, you just never know. Like, it could be upset week. It could just not be a good. They could start how they started last week, and if you play around with a team and leave them in the game towards the end, you can lose. I don't see them winning by 20.5 points. I just don't.
I do, man. I mean, they beat us and Houston in back-to-back weeks by like 40 points. And I mean, I think us and Houston are better. I mean, obviously Houston's better than Baylor. They just beat them, right? So I think this one could get ugly for Baylor. I don't think that they have the dudes to stop those corn-fed offensive linemen there at Kansas State.
I think how teams end up losing to Kansas State is not being able to score early.
Mm-hmm.
Go early, then they continue to hold the ball all day. You get cold on the sideline. So if Baylor can score early and at least score 14 points in the first half, 20 points in the first half, I think they got a chance.
Well, so there's your key then, folks. That's what you need to watch for. If Baylor can start fast, things might get ugly then. Oklahoma State. Now, I think this is a trap game. Oklahoma State going to UCF, all right after Bedlam. Oklahoma State is a 2.5-point favorite in the bounce house. UCF has John Rice Plumlee back, all right? Mm-hmm. So on paper, this is Oklahoma State, no question. They're the better team. But UCF is 2 wins away from bowl eligibility. They've got to steal. If they steal a game against Oklahoma State or Tech, and then they beat Houston, they're in a bowl game, right? So they got a lot to play for. And they should have beaten Oklahoma. UCF really should have beaten Oklahoma. So is this a trap game? Does Oklahoma State come out of this one alive?
I like the it's hard for other people to even know what trap games are, but I definitely get why you say it's a trap game. But I think if Oklahoma State just goes in and just continue to be physical how they've been all year running the ball, I think that they come out with the win easy.
I mean, I agree with you. So, I mean, Ollie Gordon, he's really
Ollie Gordon is crazy. He's averaging.
Dog.
He's what 100. He's averaging over 100 yards a game. I know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if they keep it on the ground with him, if Alan Bowman plays the way he's been playing, this should be an easy Oklahoma State win. But if I'm a college football fan, I'm looking at this one, right? I'm being wary, and I'm not going to be surprised if UCF does something stupid.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Elsewhere, what's the other game that we got on tap? Okay, West Virginia going to Oklahoma for their last game in the Sooner State. Oklahoma is a 12.5-point favorite. Okay, so it was 13 whenever I made this. It's moved down to 12.5 now. So bettors are beginning to favor West Virginia.
Yeah.
What do you think about it, Trey?
I see Oklahoma covering it, honestly. I think I see Oklahoma covering the 13. I see them beating them by way more than 2 touchdowns. I know West Virginia's a great program, but I think I see Oklahoma beating them by at least I'll give them 17 points, at least 17.
Okay, all right. I mean, hey,
it might get ugly towards the end. I think the game will be close, but I think if it's a 1 or 2 touchdown game at the end, Oklahoma's going to probably pull away with like one more.
I mean, if Oklahoma's playing like they're capable of, yeah. I mean, but I don't know. I think Oklahoma wins this game. I think West Virginia covers. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
And y'all in the comments too. Hey, give us y'all's picks. Y'all being quiet today. All right, y'all are being shy just because Trevone Boykin's in the house. Y'all don't want him to have your receipts. Okay, so he knows what your garbage picks are. Go ahead and put them in the comments, y'all. Let's go. Okay, here's one. Houston hosting Cincinnati. All right. Houston has to win this game. I think I was saying this earlier because Houston's sitting at 4-5. Houston has to win this game to win a bowl, to get to a bowl, okay? Because they got Cincinnati, they got Oklahoma State, and they got UCF. They got to steal 2 of those. I think this, to me, I'm shocked that it's only a 2-point spread. I think that this has Houston written all over it.
Yeah, I got Houston written all over it. I think they're going to come in ready to play. What is the game at 6 p.m.? They got all day to rest, chill, watch football, come in ready to play. I'm pretty sure Dana's going to have those guys ready. He know I got a lot of respect for him, obviously. I think he'll have those guys ready for sure. I see Houston beating Cincinnati by more than 2 for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Tim has given us a prediction for West Virginia, Oklahoma. Okay, he says Mountaineers beat Oklahoma 31-27. Oh man, points. 31-27. Man, if West Virginia scores 31 on Oklahoma, then yeah, they'll win that game, I think.
Game for sure, but I don't see it happening.
I mean, yeah. Yes, of course. All right. So another game with major postseason implications, just as far as bowl eligibility goes. Iowa State at BYU. Both of these teams are sitting at 5-4. Both of them need one more win to get to a bowl. All right. Let me first give you the remaining schedules for these two teams, and then we can get into the 6.5-point spread for Iowa State. So Iowa State's got this BYU game, obviously. Then they play Texas and they play Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't winning either of those two last games. Right. So they have to win this game. Mm-hmm. BYU, for their part, their remaining 3 games are Iowa State, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State. All right. Again, they ain't winning those. So whoever wins this game is going to a bowl game. Right. Major postseason implications on the line. Iowa State's a 6.5-point favorite. Who do you have? And I'll tell you who I have.
I'm going with Iowa State because, bro, it's just from my experience, I don't necessarily know where the game at?
It's in Provo. It's at BYU.
It's at BYU. Okay, that may give them a little home field advantage.
And at 9:15 Central Time. All right, it's like it's late for Iowa State.
That you're absolutely right about that. That may give the edge to BYU as far as winning this game.
Yeah.
Now that you put it like that, I could get a points to get an edge to BYU winning this game.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those situations where who's the better team on paper? I think it's Iowa State. Right? BYU, their defense has struggled. They got a good quarterback, but their secondary has just had problems on problems on problems. But you got the home crowd. You got all those rabid Mormons there behind you. It's a late game in the high elevation for Iowa State. I think BYU, man. I'm taking BYU in this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna take BYU just for that reason. The 9:00 start, like that's pretty late. Like for guys to be sitting there trying to get ready to prepare for a football game all day, that's pretty late.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, hey, by the way, Trey, did you you didn't really play in any of the games when we were in the Mountain West, did you? Like you didn't really experience that elevation?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
I was there. I didn't play.
Right. You were redshirting, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, redshirting. We went up to Air Force. We went up to Laramie, Wyoming. It was cold as hell.
Yes.
But no, that was. We went up to Boise as well. Boise was crazy. My friend.
Yes.
We beat Kellen Moore and them.
Then that was what a fun memory that was. What a wild game. I'll never forget Casey screaming at Ross Evans after he kicked that kickoff out of bounds right after the game winning 2 points. And Ross Evans kicks the ball out of bounds. He's like, "Are you effing kidding me?" Like a minute left to play. Yeah, okay, so here's Tim thinks Iowa State. Iowa State 24-17. Yeah, that's what the numbers say. Right? That's what the head says.
I'm not saying I don't like Iowa State. Only reason I'm giving BYU the edge in the game is for the late start, literally.
Yeah, I mean that makes a big difference. It's tough going to Mountain Time.
Yeah,
it's tough. All right, let's talk about the game that this is the game that I want to talk about. All right. TCU versus Texas. All right, this is a team that TCU has beaten 8 times in the last 12 tries. Okay, TCU owns Texas. Now, this is a different Texas team. This is a different TCU team. Texas is favored by 10 points in Fort Worth on Saturday night. Here's the question. Can TCU play the role of, as Darryl Royal used to say, be cockroaches, fall into Texas's plans and screw everything up? Or is this a situation where Texas is just too good? We don't match up well. Like, say your prayers and go to bed early.
I don't think we match up well. But
no, of course we don't.
For the simple fact that UT is letting a lot of people stay in games. If they allow TCU to stay in the game in the fourth quarter, I mean they're not a older team, so it's not like if Texas come ready to play, there's no way that they shouldn't win the game. But if they don't come in and play like they're supposed to, I wouldn't be surprised if TCU gets the upset.
Yeah. So this game reminds me.
Even with TCU being 4-5 this year and Texas being a -10, like I really think that they don't come to play playing their forward. I'm not just saying this because I went to TCU, but I really don't think if they come because the history speaks for itself. Like you said, we won 8 out of the last 12 times. So if they don't come in ready to play, bro, it will get not necessarily ugly, but they will lose.
Yeah. Here's what this game reminds me of, okay? Because on paper, No, that we do not match up well. Their defensive line is great. Our offensive line has really struggled. Our defensive line does not get pressure with 3 guys. Their offensive line has been really great. That's right there says the story. But this game reminds me a lot of the 2021 Baylor game. All right. So this is the game right after Coach P got fired, and it's Chandler Morris's first game ever. Baylor's coming in looking like a potential playoff team. We have no business sharing a stadium with them. We come out and just take it to them, ruin their season. Right. This game looks so much like that game to me. It's at home. It's at night. It's a rival, one that's never going to play us ever, right? Because they don't want to mess with us ever again.
Right.
Like you were saying earlier, if there is a game where this TCU team is going to have a chip on their shoulder, is this one.
It should be this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And this is a game too. So, you should beat Baylor next week. If you're TCU and you want to go to a bowl game, you have to steal one against Texas or Oklahoma.
Yeah.
This is the game that we got at home.
To me, if you want to pick the lesser of the teams, I think if I want to see one team out of Texas, Oklahoma, I would rather play Texas than Oklahoma.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah. This year, I would rather for them to try to get that win, because beating Oklahoma is going to be. I think they're not going to beat Oklahoma. I think they have a really good chance at least competing versus Texas, just because of that history and a lot of other things that may go their way as well.
Yeah, there is something to be said about feeling snake bit and feeling like a team just kind of has your number. No, TCU's definitely got teams West Virginia is one of those teams for TCU where more often than not we're losing that game no matter how good we are. You know,
you just never know what might happen.
Yeah. So, man, I'm excited about it. I'll be out there. You going to be out there on Saturday night?
Yeah,
Saturday night, Trey?
I'll definitely be in Fort Worth, man.
All right. Hey, so listen, we're hyped about it. We're trying to win it for the Big 12, right? We do not want Texas playing in this Big 12 title game. Sure don't want them in the playoff. All right. We're going to try and do it for everybody. Trey, man, thank you so much for being with me tonight. Why don't you go ahead and plug anything you want to plug for the people? Tell them where to follow you. Tell them about your camp, all of that stuff.
Perfect. Look, y'all can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitch. I do QB training special on the side. You can check all that out on my Instagram. I have the link, the bio, the whole 9. Also probably going to be getting my podcast started here pretty soon. Have guys like Bram Colehouse, I'll have him on the episode. I'll try to get guys like Turp. Just a lot of be able to teach you guys for us to just be able to just sit around, chop it up, talk about old times, bring stories from the NFL to college, and just kind of give y'all a more in-depth thing on that. So, man, we got some stuff that's definitely finna start kicking off. So, y'all stay tuned, man. Just check us out, bro. We just gonna continue to do our thing, continue to prosper, and go from there. Like I said, I got some stuff up my sleeve that I'm working on, so it's good.
Man, I gotta subscribe to that podcast. That sounds chill and like a blast, man.
Oh, my mama, it's gonna be up. It's gonna be more laid back. It's gonna be sports. It's gonna be talk. It's gonna be a little bit of everything. So, for sure.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for being here, Trey. Good chopping it up with you for an hour here on the show. Always good anytime we get to talk. Y'all, please subscribe to the show. Share it with your friends. We're trying to grow this show at Big 12 DOCFB. It's the biggest 12. It's a love fest here talking about Big 12 football, and there's plenty more. We always have great guests like Trey. Maybe not on the caliber of, former Heisman finalist Trevone Boykin, but we've always got great guests on the show and guys from all the different Big 12 schools talking about things going on. So please do subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Clint_Foster55. Follow my YouTube channel if you don't already at Clint Foster Comedy, and be with us here every Tuesday night, 6:00. We're going to have lots more to come. So thank you again, Trey. Everybody, have a fantastic night. I hope your team wins. I hope the Frogs win. And go Big 12, baby.
For sure. All right, brother.